Wednesday crew is here, and we begin with Midweek Madness. We are fired up this morning, and we have lots of reasons to be. Fortenbaugh, what are you fired up about?
Kansas City's streak of 7 straight trips to the AFC Championship game is going to end, and I cannot believe Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson are not going to take advantage of it. They're not mathematically eliminated or anything like that, but Jackson and the Ravens look off, and I don't know if Josh Allen has enough help to navigate through the AFC this year. It's sad. The window finally opened, and they weren't there to capitalize on it.
That's a really good point. We could talk about that more later. Peter, what has you fired up this morning?
I know it happened Sunday night and a long Thanksgiving weekend, but can we finally give some love to what might have been the greatest catch we have seen since Odell's? Treylon Burks' 5th catch of the season, just 3 games with the Commanders, has this catch, and I don't think it was shown on any highlights anywhere Monday morning. Treylon Burks, we're going to give you love today, Wednesday.
Finger.
That is a spectacular catch. Domonique, what has you mad this morning?
I mean, our guy Jackson Dart. I know it's been, and we're looking at this catch one more time. You said we didn't get enough love. We'll give it more love. But Jackson Dart, man, I love how tough you are. But we need you for the long term, man. Like, he's a promising young quarterback who has other abilities. It's not as if he's only a running quarterback. He throws really accurate passes if he can stay upright. So please protect yourself.
You need to hear what Bruce Arians said about this yesterday on McAfee, and you will as we continue. Meanwhile, Jeffrey, what has you mad this morning?
The Eagles' defense. How about, listen, we're going to have to carry this team into the playoffs, D. And we got Carter, we got Davis, Jordan. None of these guys stepped up. The Bears, y'all, had 2 running backs that averaged 6 yards a carry. 2. By the way, as they went on to 250 yards rushing, that is an absolute manhandling of a very good defense. The Eagles are not going to go far in the playoffs if their defense doesn't carry them. That was a poor performance in a standalone game where you got to show up, and the Bears outplayed them tremendously.
They'll have another standalone game on Monday night. And speaking of the Eagles, the Cowboys are gaining on them fast in that NFC East that we know no one ever wins in consecutive years. Here was Jerry Jones yesterday on the Cowboys' playoff chances.
Our best shot, I think, is to win the division. I really am pleased with how this team has come together over these last 2 or 3 weeks. I'm excited about what we've done, how we have evolved, and it would be a fairy tale, not total fairy tale, but it would be wonderful to pull this thing out, get in those playoffs, and have this staff make a run at it. We've got the personnel that we can compete like that.
So here's the thing, Jerry, you're already in the playoffs. The playoffs started for this team weeks ago, and this game tomorrow night is absolutely a make or break game. Win, and their chances of getting in the playoffs are 36%. Lose, and their chances are 8%. This is, for all intents and purposes, a playoff game for both teams. For the same guy who sat up here. So they had
0%.
You were now
and Jerry actually said something coherent, which obviously I was like, it's like a double plus day for Jerry. All the things he did has paid off. I mean, this team, this defense doesn't even look like the same team. It has been a transformation like I've never seen in the NFL. And their offense was always a playoff, if not Super Bowl caliber offense. But their defense, the Quinnen Williams signing, the Wilson, the Overshown coming back, the guys on the back end getting healthy. But the style that Eberflus has brought in, they play some 5 down front. They give you different looks, and they've made it very difficult. And by the way, they beat some very good football teams. And I dare to say, after I gave them 0%, this is the scariest team in the NFC. Offense, defense, they can flat out get after you. If no one wants to see them in the playoffs if they win out and get there.
As we just showed you, the chances remain such that the Cowboys don't get in. But if they do get in, they suddenly look like a team that could do some serious
I know we
damage.
can't forget everything that happened earlier in the season. It's going to be in our minds. But in football, when we game plan, it's normally the last 4 games.
That's right.
If you look at their last 3 games and coming up on this game, this has been one of the most impressive teams in football. If they finish this win and knock off the Lions, this run would have separates them from anyone else. I don't know that I can think of a 3-game run that any other team has had that's been more impressive. They have to finish it with this Lions win, and then they'll get the Vikings, which is another winnable game. And I'm starting to think that they really might do this.
If they beat the Lions, they have what feel like 4 winnable games to finish up their season. And Peter, you were making a point that I made a lot on Friday. Here's the schedule that you see remaining. Now, the Eagles, of course, have some games that you'd figure they should win.
For sure.
After the Charger game, which is tough even with the injuries that LA has. Raiders feels winnable. Commanders twice. feels winnable. Buffalo probably will be playing for their lives that week, so that's not as easy a game. You see the schedule side by side. We'll see. The Cowboys need to make up what amounts to essentially a game and a half. But the play that I know you want to spotlight was the one that I came in here Friday morning screaming about.
It's real. Look, this is a game. It's a one-score game against the Chiefs. It's national TV, 50 million people watching, and George Pickens gets the ball. And we can roll the play here if we want to show. Pickens, it's a one-score game, and he gets stripped. And this happens. And in 9 out of 10 times, the Chiefs recover. Look at Kevontae Turpin come from the entire other side of the field to be Johnny on the spot and recover it. Why do we bring up this play? Because they had the Elijah Clark play last week on the punt return where he's making the play, going, hustling, finding it. Everyone is on the same page. And I texted a Cowboys source after the game on Thursday, and my text was this. It was like, Dak and CD, it was great to see them back together. It says, don't worry about any of that. Make sure on ESPN you guys highlight the Turpin fumble recovery. That's what we're about this season.
Yeah.
That's what we're about right now. This is a completely different team than the one that I saw in a Monday Night Football game lose to Jacoby Brissett and Amari DiMercado and Bam Knight in the Arizona Cardinals at home. It's been only a month, but it is a completely different squad. The question is it too late to get into the playoffs?
That's right. So there's that side of it. And then Kimberly, I'll take everyone inside our meeting this morning. We had all of these conversations. And then Kmart jumps in as the voice of reason.
Pounding the table for the Cowboys, and then
says,
here I come.
We're ignoring the other side of this game, which is just as important.
The Detroit Lions, we're acting like the Cowboys are the only team that have something to play for. I've covered the Lions in the playoffs the last couple of years, them losing to San Francisco. Last year, that game against the Commanders, and you're watching a team that seemed right at the doorstep of this team is loaded. They're clearly going to get to the Super Bowl. And now you look at this team, again, offensive line, whether it be injuries, whether it be just they're just not playing well. You've got secondary injuries. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown did not practice yesterday, and now his status for the game is still uncertain. But this is a Lions team where Dan Campbell is trying to tell them, this is the moment. We have to dig deep. The big word they use, grit. This is the time for the grit because they've year after year they've dealt with injuries, but they're playing at home, guys.
Yep.
They're playing at home, and they still have Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, who are 2 stars.
I love that point because I think we make such a big deal of their injuries. And you forget, right? Like the 49ers have they have a litany of injuries. And they still win. Like we're going to have injuries in the NFL. And it's unfortunate and it's difficult and it's all those things. But your other players have to play well. And to your point, their offensive line last year was dominant. They didn't play good against the Packers again. Twice in a year, you're playing an in-division opponent. You know what they do, and they got wore out again. At some point, what is your identity? I feel like for me, that's the hardest part of what I see with the Lions is they want to be a physical team, they want to be a run team, they want to be these kind of things, but they haven't been. Goff is a very stationary quarterback, and without St. Brown, they're a different team.
Kimberly mentions that San Francisco game. It's less than 2 years ago. You're sitting there thinking you had the shot to go to the Super Bowl. You missed, but look at the future. A bunch of young guys, cost-effective, the sky's the limit.
That's not.
Less than 2 years later, you're currently favored to miss the playoffs. They're not a favorite to get in. They're a favorite to miss. And if things go south Thursday night, they got the Rams on the road on deck. It's only going to get worse. You project to next year, bottom 10 currently in salary cap space, only 39 guys under contract. Did they miss the window? Becomes the question.
But that's sitting in that press conference room when Dan Campbell walks in after that San Francisco 49ers loss, and he says, you know, that window, this might have been our shot. We're all looking around like, this team is so good. Why they were up by double digits. Their window is still open, and he's speaking to the reality of if you don't punch it in, you may never get that shot again.
This team does show grit, though. Like I think it's another opportunity for them. They've shown it time and time again. And the injury point that you made about the 49ers, you can make that same point about the Lions last year. And so far this season, that defense has stood up despite injuries to the secondary. But the problem, I think, right now is it feels like this organization is heading in a different direction. Like their fourth down luck hasn't been nearly as good as it's been historically. They're changing offensive coordinators. Dan Campbell, who hadn't called plays before, now feels like he calls plays. This team feels more desperate than it ever has. And not desperate in a good way, kind of desperate in a reaching, clawing for something that they can hold on to.
It's not a great matchup for them this weekend.
Agreed.
Pickens and Ferguson and Lamb, it doesn't match up with that banged-up defensive backfield. It's just what it is. So a team that will throw the ball all over the yard indoors and have a field day, that's not a great matchup for Detroit's way that they're built personnel-wise.
They play 60% man coverage. George Pickens lives in man coverage, like almost 700 yards on just man. Like, if you're going to think of, let's change something up, we better figure something out for Lamb and Pickens. We want to do man. Maybe it's not the best game for that. Maybe we do a little something different.
And I feel like Amon-Ra St. Brown has sort of been their heartbeat. Like, there's so many great players on that team.
Dude.
Williams hits home runs and Gibbs hits home runs and all that. But Amon-Ra St. Brown feels like the heartbeat of that team. That feels like the one bridge too far. If they've really lost him, I feel like that.
And they're at home. I think that'll help the Lions a great deal, being at home and the motivation they get from that. And the Cowboys haven't been as good on the road as they've been at home.
What's the number in this game?
3.
Lions
3.
minus
Open
3.
5.5, and it was Cowboy money early and often.
All right.